move on. Claire, thank you very much for that presentation and good luck in your work.
And thank you for your comments. They're useful and to be taken on board.
Right, thank you. We're going to move on to item 2, the Dublin 12 bike bus, and I'm welcoming Aon King. And I don't know if Aon you're accompanied, but I
am indeed, yes. Thanks, Dermot. Margaret Burke, principal from Riverview Educate Together, is here as well.
Margaret, you're very welcome too. So
hello, hi, how are you? Good afternoon.
I'll hand it straight over to you, Aon, because we're running out of time. You're frozen. Margaret?
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
I'll try and keep it snappy. Oh, I'm here. Yeah, I'm back now. Can you hear me there?
We can hear you, but I think you're also frozen, but go ahead. Now we can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Screen sharing is starting. And Tara, I see your hand. Do you want to comment after this, or is it something now?
No, Dermot afterwards, sorry.
Okay.
What should we do? I might just contact Aon and see if
yeah,
see if this can resolve this.
If we could give him a ring.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay, just while you're doing that, can we agree the minutes without any playing around with them? Or are there issues on the minutes? There's issues on the minutes.
One point that I want to make on a motion that I had about fair rent. Excuse me, I understood that was going to be included in the breviary for the meeting tonight, and it's not.
Because that, Mary, isn't how it works anymore. There's a problem about area motions. Maybe I could talk to you later about it.
Okay.
Area motions in general going on the breviary. So I actually don't agree with the current procedure, but there is a new procedure in place. So can we agree the minutes?
Okay.
Yeah, they're grand, yeah.
Okay, great. I mean, the 2 sets of minutes are agreed, and we'll go back to Aon now. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Can you see that, Dermot?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Apologies about that, everyone. I will move rapidly through. So look, my name is Aon King. I'm from the D12 BikeBus. I'm here presenting today with Margaret Burke as principal of Riverview Educate Together. We run a weekly service to a local school from Ivy Gardens. We track across Crumlin to into South Dublin City Council, where Riverview Educate Together is located just beside Timon Park. We provide safe cycling in Dublin 12. This is something we find we don't have, is the ability to cycle safely, and certainly not our children. So as part of that, we've prepared this presentation. We thank you for allowing us to come and present to you. So just as an introduction, the D12 bike bus basically is parents banding together to cycle with their children to school. This is to enable them. We're currently disabled because our children aren't safe to cycle on the roads. We're also lobbying, as part of a physical need to cycle to school, we're also lobbying for better cycling infrastructure, so our routes are safer and easier. And fundamentally, we don't need a bike bus, and that's overall what we're really trying to get to here. Bike buses are just an indication of a need in an area, that there should be proper and safe cycling infrastructure. The bike bus enables and encourages people to cycle as a normal day activity. Indeed, it's not just about children cycling, it's also getting people who haven't looked at a bike in 30 years back on their bicycle and working with their children on a daily practical route to school, you know, not just to the school, but also across our community, to the shops, to our local play areas, to GAA pitches. You know, it's to really get this consideration that we need community access for cyclists and for pedestrians, for walkers, and to move away from this car enforcement that we suffer from, particularly in Dublin 12 area. It gives returning adults and children the skill and confidence to go and cycle independently of the bike bus. So that's the critical learning we've gotten from this, is that our parents now know how to cycle and cycle confidently and expertly in an area, but it's still unsafe, you know, as they have to mix with motorized traffic. This is the old bike bus. We started before COVID. It was a motley crew of a few of us. We had to work out numerous routes. What was our safe way? How would we get there? You know, lots of learnings came into play. You know, we became quite a crack team, a military operation that sets out early in the morning to go out of our way to get to school, because we need to pick people up in order to be noticed and felt on the road that we feel safe. So our parents cycle in a defensive cordon around children on the inside. And this is the Crumlin Road. That's a 5-axle articulated lorry bearing up behind. Marshals, of who we have 7 volunteers who are not associated to the school, have to defend the back of the bus from this kind of motorized traffic and this kind of fighting for space that we have to do daily in order just to get across our community. So the experience. So I'll hand you over to Margaret here. I think this is probably why the bike bus came about.
Hi everybody. Just to say thanks again, we really appreciate the opportunity to present to you this afternoon. So I'm here as principal of Riverview and also a parent. So my 3 children also cycle on the bike bus. And I suppose just as a principal, just to say, like, the huge value that we in the school see in children arriving to school by active means, so whether walking or scooting or cycling. And I suppose just that the child, we're always looking for children to be ready to learn, and we know as adults how much better we are when we have had a bit of exercise, a bit of fresh air. And it's exactly the same for children when they arrive at school off their bike. It's a different child who comes into school, and there really is huge value in that. And it's something that we really want to support, but I suppose at the moment we don't feel we can encourage parents to bring their children out on bikes. We will facilitate as much we can, but just given the situation on the roads, we don't really feel that we can actively encourage it at the moment. Just a quick story, I suppose, something that happened in the school office a couple of weeks back that really kind of brought it home to me, the situation and the mindset that we are in now regarding children and cycling. One of the SNAs came into the office just to say that she had seen a child cycling to school by himself, and I suppose the subtext immediately was, or the question was, like, is this a child protection issue? And the child in question was a very capable 10-year-old boy, but I suppose that is the situation that we're in, is that it's perceived as being very unsafe for children to cycle at the moment. And the other interesting thing about that exact moment in time was that Audrey, who's the school secretary, we were chatting about it, and Audrey she supports any kind of safety measures in the roads, but she's not a cyclist herself. Her children don't cycle. But in the course of conversation, she said, "Oh yeah, sure, I used to cycle everywhere as a child." And it just really brought it home to me, I suppose, that sense that the world we're in is so different, and we just take it for granted now that it's not okay for children to cycle, whereas previously it was entirely okay. It was a normal part of growing up. We have a little video. Will we go on to that? So what we thought would be very useful really for you was just to hear in their own words the experience of other parents of children who participate in the bike bus, and I suppose what it has meant for them and their experience of it. So if we go to that now.
Hoping this works now, Margaret. Is that okay?
Yeah, working. Frozen, I think.
I think it'll be okay now.
We've got a couple of ways to do this. So.
Sorry, everyone. I just.
What our family loves about the D12 BikeBus, in addition to the social aspect, is the sense of safety and security that it brings us travelling as a large group, and the greater visibility that gives us as cyclists on the road. Our main concerns cycling with the children are travelling alongside fast-moving traffic, and the risk of close passes, and the difficulty of negotiating junctions that prioritise road users, car users on the road over pedestrians and cyclists.
One of the major benefits we see with the bike bus is time. Time saved in traffic, time for our well-being, and time for connection with family members and time for those within the cycling community or the bike bus community.
Myself and the children really enjoy cycling to school as much as we can. We really enjoy feeling so much more present in our community and meeting people along the way. Then the children are also really driven by their contribution to the climate change crisis. So that's something that we really want to support as much as we can. However, we live on Walkinstown Avenue, so during the week, Monday to Thursday, getting to school from Walkinstown Avenue to Limekiln Road with 5 children. I have 5 children. This is not easy at all. Managing their safety along the way on the path, avoiding cars coming out of driveways, and then of course getting across the Walkinstown roundabout is no easy task. So on Fridays when we join the bike bus, we feel really relieved on Fridays. It's almost like a comfort blanket on wheels. We feel so much more safer and much more present, or pardon me, visible to drivers on the road. So we look forward to Fridays when we can have a much more relaxed cycle to school. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Owen and this is Dervla, and we do the bike bus because we're trying to normalise cycling and show that it's an activity for everybody, not just for hardened commuters, but also for people who otherwise wouldn't have thought cycling was for them.
I agree with that. Definitely.
The bike bus has given me great confidence to cycle on the road with my son. Before I joined, I would have felt too vulnerable and exposed on the busy roads. It's really great to be part of it.
And I guess a reason I volunteer with the bike bus is because I cycled to school as a youngster in Navan quite safely every day. And I would love that one kid on the D12 bike bus, when they grow older, might look back and say, I'm really glad that some adults took the time to make my route to school a little bit safer, because that gave me the experience and the confidence to discover that I could gain independence and sense of freedom and a sense of possibility by going to school on my bike, and that they develop a lifelong love of travelling by bike.
So Margaret.
Yeah, so thanks, Ayan. Yeah, so I think that gives a very clear picture of kind of how important the bike bus is for lots of people and for parents in particular. And I suppose what's really at issue here is that the situation as it is, people are inclined to think, oh sure, it's fine, but really it's not fine, and we can't think it's fine, and we shouldn't think it's fine. And I suppose our lived experience of this is really that it's not safe on the roads. It's also not lovely. I mean, I suppose when we look at kind of best practice in other countries, we see really nice road infrastructure and streets and planting. And I think we need to have high expectations for what we can achieve in Dublin 12 and for what the people of Dublin 12 are entitled to, and I think it should be lovely. And also I suppose there's just that a sense of aggression on the roads, and I think the aggression probably comes from the way the roads are set up. When we're cycling on the road, what the road is saying to us is that this road is built for cars, and anything for cyclists is really there as an afterthought. And that's what we feel cycling as adults, and also cycling with children. We're like doubly aware of that. I suppose when you do have a child with you on the road, it's a safety is of such a high priority. Is that, and it really takes a lot of guts to bring children out on the road, and we do it because we think it's important, but it's not something we take lightly, and it's definitely not something that's easy. And I suppose the other thing to add as well is that there's a body of people, there's a strong body of people in the Dublin 12 area who really want this, and who want our area to be a place that we can travel safely around by whatever means we choose. And I suppose I wrote a letter to council last year, which 19 other school principals in the area signed without hesitation. So, and I just refer to that, I suppose, just so that you have the sense that there are people out here who will support the kind of ambitious change that we need in the area to make it safer for all of us on the roads and travelling around. And Aon, I think it's back to you now.
Very briefly, we're on the last slide, so everyone, thanks very much. Just, we see the solution. We batted it forward and thought we could come up with technical queries. I certainly can. I'm always here. But really, what we need to see as a bike bus and as a community of people from Dublin 12 is an ambitious vision of how we use our local environment and how we live in it. And this needs to be clearly illustrated. We're seeing similar councils, other councils who are illustrating, showing people what it is that's possible, bringing people along, and that it's not just a series of quick wins, which can be okay, but as part of a bigger plan. We need that, and we need to see a more longer term solution. We need to see engagement, and we need to, and as a council, to seek support from local community groups like us, the D12 BikeBus, Bloom and Crumlin Community Cleanup, in our area, and in other areas in Dublin the same. But early on and throughout the design and implementation stages, and this is what will get these schemes through. You need to have that local buy-in on a conversational basis, meet with us regularly, ensure that you're bringing the people who are the interested parties. As Margaret has said, we have 19 schools in the immediate Dublin 12 area who are on side with this. We have a large reach, and ultimately, we want to adapt the public safe to make it safe, fair and equitable for all users. It is not currently safe and fair and equitable for all users. It's heavily overweighted towards car use. And we'll only know that the solution has been found when bike buses are no longer necessary. So that's the important thing to take away. We don't want to see bike buses. Nobody wants to see them unless it's a fun activity for a Saturday morning. We certainly don't want them as a means of commuting. That needs to be engineered and provided for on the roads of Dublin. So I finally, very finally, the timeline that we see and we would like to see enacted is in the short term, temporary interventions as we're seeing. Let's get some proper intervention around, these bollards as they are, get them temporarily down, but they're part of a wider plan. Let's see what's going to happen in the medium term, which is 3 to 6 months. These have been tried somewhat. What are the improvements? How is it working within the community? Again, this interaction with the local groups, the likes of ourselves, Crumlin Community Cleanup, Bloom and Crumlin, the likes of that, to really, the local resident associations, understand how these interventions can be improved to cater for safety, ultimately, and for everyone on the road, and then the longer term, 6 to 18 months, to see permanent interventions in place in Dublin 12 and our local area, which is heavily populated and is screaming out for changes like we're seeing in associated councils nearby. So thank you for your time. And then if there was any questions relating to that.
Thanks very much, Aon and Margaret. If you unshare the screen so I can see everybody.
Thank you.
I know Tara DC's hand is up and there is somebody else, but if you just can take that off the screen.
I'm just trying to now. I have new share. Oh yeah, stop share. Sorry, excuse me.
It's myself and Pat.
Great, thanks. Okay, so I have Tara, Carolyn, and Pat. Okay, in that order.
Deadly, thanks, Dermot, and thanks, Aon and Margaret. I really appreciate it. It's lovely to hear from me I suppose I was going to say in person, but it's not really in person, but it's lovely to hear. I'd love to be part of your bike, your group. I'd love that. Even when I'm bringing Josh to school, it'd be something I'd love to be involved in. It does your heart good to see the kids. So it's lovely for us as councillors to hear something positive. But it's unfortunate that volunteers, I suppose, have to provide for safe cycling in Dublin 12. And that's our job as councillors and as a very important organisation at a citywide level. It's something that DCC should be doing. So I really do appreciate that for both of you that you're doing that. I'm just wondering as well, Chair, is there anybody from DCC that I can kind of directly, put these questions to? Because What I'd like to see over the next coming months would be that DCC and the person that's kind of designated around cycling in the area, that they could work directly with Aon and Margaret, and maybe if the other councillors. I made the suggestion at the last meeting that we create a small subgroup to work with those community groups to look at how we roll out some of the suggestions that are being made. So I'm wondering if there's anybody here from DCC that we can direct this to.
We have 3 traffic officials here, Tara.
Oh, brilliant. So presumably one of them. So that's the first question. If Aon and Margaret are willing to work with a few of us within DCC staff as well, if that's possible, to look at, you know, a deeper consultation with the guys and what that would look like. I have, I suppose, 2 questions then, and Aon or Margaret, if you want to maybe answer these as well, I want to get your view on it. And something struck me, Aon, when you mentioned the kind of the quick wins. And I suppose in my role as a councillor, I've been trying to get the quick wins with the COVID mobility measures. Now, the rest of the councillors will probably agree we haven't done very well. So we haven't even managed to get a few quick wins, which concerns me as well. But I'd like to get your views in terms of, you know, what ye yourselves think about the COVID mobility measures that have been put in place. Maybe what do the residents think about that? And then your overall view in terms of active travel in the area. So there's kind of three prongs approach to what I'm saying. I want a subgroup or a working group established after this meeting today to work with yourselves and others, and your views maybe on COVID mobility in general and active travel. So sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit.
Margaret, I'll take that.
Thanks,
That's
Sarah.
okay.
Yeah.
We'll take Carolyn next.
Will I speak now or
No,
wait?
we take them all in because they may have related questions, and if that's okay.
Thank you.
Great,
Caroline?
thanks Dermot, and yeah, I probably do have a related question, but primarily just to commend Aon and Margaret and all of the families that have really taken a big leap of faith and made this initiative happen and joined it throughout the year. I mean, as people have pointed out in the video, they're taking cars off the road, and perhaps most importantly, they are creating the cyclists of the future, and that's what's really important, because kids who enjoy cycling and can do it safely and with confidence become adults who cycle, and that's where the real modal shift will happen down the line. So I'm really sorry that as a council we haven't acted more quickly to actually facilitate this group and to help them bring even more children and families into the bike bus, because we know that a really high proportion of traffic and congestion is caused by school runs, and as it was pointed out in the video, many of those journeys are just a few kilometers long and they could easily be done with active travel if people didn't feel that their children were in danger on our roads. And that's the sort of chicken and egg conundrum that we tend to face when we're looking to provide the infrastructure to make it safe. We rely on families like those in the D12 BikeBus to actually show us that the need exists. And then when they do show us, which they have done, the onus is then on us to act and to provide the infrastructure. And you know, when it comes to kind of that old saying of if you build it, they will come, you just have to look at the success of Grange Gorman or the cycle route in Dunleary to show that that really is the case, and that's what will attract more people onto this bike bus. So we really need to do this. We have a Minister for Transport who wants this modal shift to happen. He allocated just a couple of months ago 15 million euros for safe routes to school, because he recognises that, you know, that children are really the future in terms of facilitating that modal shift. And we also saw, as Aon alluded to there, our colleagues in South Dublin County Council gave this route 300,000 euros in February. So we need to now, as a council, step up and do our part, and there's no justification not to do it. There's no financial reason not to do it. And actually, beyond just helping these kids get to school safely, this would also provide infrastructure that can be used by the whole community, and by a community that has been completely left behind in terms of COVID mobility measures. And you know, that's why we have what we call the kind of hierarchy of the road that puts the most vulnerable users at the top, because the beauty of designing to protect the most vulnerable, in this case children, it means that everybody in the wider community then benefits. So if we are committed to delivering a 15-minute city, as the draft development plan suggests that we are, then we can't just talk the talk. We have to actually, you know, step up and deliver the measures that will make that 15-minute city a reality. And, you know, more importantly still, we can't propose the measures that would make that 15-minute city a reality and then vote against them on this council once they're actually proposed. So for me, safe routes to school are at the absolute top of the list. And so what I just want to ask Aon is, in terms of, we spoke last month about the plan that was presented after 9 months of work by the engineers, and how really it fell very, very far short of the expectations of you know, ourselves as councillors and the families on the bike bus. So I just want to ask Aon, really, is the plan that was presented to us last month, does that satisfy the kind of short-term objective that you've outlined there? And how can we kind of work with you guys to establish then how we actually transition that to the medium-term objective, with a view to kind of having better infrastructure in place when the schools return in September? Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn. Pat Dunn, and can I ask everyone else to be a little briefer? Sorry, Pat, I'm not directing this at you. Okay.
Oh, that's fine. I'm always brief anyway, Chair. Chair, first of all, Aon and Margaret, thank you very much for the presentation. Really appreciate it. It came at my suggestion that the report that we got at the last area committee I thought was inadequate, and in no way gave you an opportunity to reflect what you're actually doing, right? I've had the pleasure of seeing you pass me a few times, and I wasn't driving, I was on the bus. There's a real problem, Chair, in anything that has the title Dublin 12, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. Where Aon comes out of the Ivy Gardens onto the Crumlin Road, that's in our local election area of Kimmage Mines. As they go up the Crumlin Road, on the far side of it, coming as they would be going home, that's in Dublin South Central. So immediately you have two Dublin local authority areas with responsibility, and it is a question that what we need to do is have joint up thinking. Then as soon as the bike bus goes through Crumlin Village and reaches the Ashleaf, it's into South Dublin Council, where Moran School is, just a kilometre or so up the road from the Ashleaf. So we need to involve South Dublin Council. And I'm saying this insofar is that in order to have a proper solution of joint up thinking, that our traffic engineers for South East and South Central need to talk to the South Dublin County Council traffic engineers and engage fully with Aon and his group. And I'm sure, and I do know we can resolve these problems. So I think the key word that struck me was the word aggression that came up a few times, an aggression from drivers and other road users towards cyclists, and in particular towards a group like the bike bus that are so colourful, and you're there, everybody knows what it's about, and for people to show aggression to that is absolutely disgraceful. I'm urging every councillor once again on this area committee to vote for the 30k speed limits to be introduced this year. At least that will take away some form of the aggressiveness of driving, and I do believe that will make a difference once it's enforced. And I'm not going to take up any more time other than to say I'm really asking our traffic engineers to engage with the Dublin Bike Bus and indeed other cyclists and groups for the three things that they've asked us to do here today. One, for temporary interventions, two, for medium improvements, and then within 18 months to have a proper infrastructure in place.
Daniel, can you mute yourself? Daniel, can you mute yourself, please?
Chair, I'm finished. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, Pat, for that interruption there. Lord Mayor.
Thanks, Chair. And thank you, Aon and Margaret. I know, Margaret, from Riverview, myself and Patrick had tried to go down once, and yourselves had already moved on when it came to the bike bus tour the other week. Actually, we were standing outside the school going, hey, where do we go now? But firstly, thank you so much for both of your work. And I know Patrick had told me a lot of what has been done, and a lot of what the councillors Tara and Pat and Carolyn and others have been pushing for, and he had been asking himself through council and through PQs as well. I was just talking to Brendan O'Brien there actually while we were discussing, because this isn't something new that has just come up, and it's something that I know the team had gone out with yourselves on a cycle recently, and one of the main barriers that is conveyed to us is that the route does need to turn some places into one way and filter permeability on it as well, and that in itself will be a little contentious, but it doesn't mean it's a no. So the answer I got from him is that we're already after meeting yourselves, they're looking into measures of how it can take place. So the biggest issue is always the width of the road, as you know, so it's a bit hard to come up with the solutions of that, but the team, what it sounds like is that the team is willing to look at this. I'm not making promises on our behalf, but what I'm saying is that with the will of the council here, the councillors, myself, and the team here, it seems like that we will be pushing for something that will be better for yourselves in the short term and the longer term as well. Pat's point about South Dublin County Council is really important, because it is the previous times when I looked in this, some people always said no, it's actually South Dublin's remit and not ours, but it now sounds like there is a will, I guess, and a willingness to work together on it. So I'm hoping that by the next time we see yourselves again, there will be improvements, and that there will be a longer term plan as well. Thank you.
Lord Mayor, I think I've got everybody in. Aon and Margaret, you might like to respond. I suppose I welcome the report. I support all of it you say. I suppose my only word of caution is that your timelines don't necessarily fit into the timelines of as defined by Dublin City Council of short, medium and long terms. But I could look to you in that. If either of you want to respond, you're more than welcome.
Well, like anything, you know, I'm a planner of sorts myself, so you know, you need to have a plan in place to follow, you know, and we can mark ourselves against that plan, and you know, history will tell where we went, you know. We did, thanks very much, Hazel, you know, everyone, the guys did cycle with us last September. We have been waiting this period of time, you know. Then we hoped we'd have measures in place for the return of the school year, so that time has passed. You know, we're in another summer, and we're looking at September now, so let's keep to those timelines. I appreciate every measure. Anything that brings safety for children on the roads is by far more welcome than anything. We need vision, you know, there has to be temporary intervention to make things safe immediately, you know, and then the vision to see what permanent looks like. And that really needs to be presented to us as a community in Dublin 12, you know, and we need to work with you, and we'll make sure that any measures or improvements you want in place are supported by the community, you know, when it goes out. So it's back to the solution, which is that vision, a clear vision, you know, not just measures carried out. We need to see it stepped out, how it's going to be, you know, and some graphics to show us, you know. You got the guys, you maybe need some extra help to do that, I don't know, but you know, we're here to provide that community support that you need on the ground, you know, and we'll continue making that message clear. So I think that probably answers those, but Margaret?
Yeah, I suppose just to reiterate the support that will be out there for whatever changes are made, like with consultation, that's really there. And I suppose what would be great is after this, like in a year's time, if people are turning around and saying, look what they did in Dublin 12, and it's a model for other areas to build on, because I think we should be ambitious. We can do this.
Yeah, let's not limit it to this route, you know, like as everyone has said, this can be a model of how a particular road is looked at in a particular area, and that could be spaced out in every road across Crumlin, you know, or across Walkerstown, Drimna indeed. And that's how we need to think about this. It's a bigger plan, you know, and that this is an opportunity to get funding and to say, right, that's how it's done, let's roll it out. So and then, as Margaret said, here it's done in Dublin 12, imagine of all places, why not do it everywhere?
Okay, Dermot, sorry, could I just ask a question before you go any further? I'm just conscious.
We're running out of time, Tara.
Oh, sorry, just very briefly, just that I know that I have it in my head. What is the plan in terms of working with the guys? I'm wondering, Neil, are you the right person to talk to Could we get maybe every 2 months an update in terms of how that meeting is going, how that interaction is going? Like, I'd like to be part of that subgroup. I'm sure other people would as well, and do everything we can to move things forward. And if it means maybe rejigging funding or getting additional funding from somewhere, but I'd like to keep this on the agenda so that every 2 months that there's a formal report given, and that there's probably meetings in between, just that we keep it moving and keep that energy. So that's just, I just wanted to make sure before we move on.
Mary Friel's hand up as well. Mary?
Just very briefly, sorry, I was distracted there for a few minutes, but I want to add my voice of very strong support for this. I think working together, working with the 2 local authorities is the best step forward, and that we keep close to it. Thank you.
Okay, can I ask
just 30 seconds, because to Tara's point, one of the things I said to Brendan was a task force on this, and Neil, I'm not landing on this on you. I know it's Claire and Laura that is looking after it. So perhaps from this meeting that we set up a proper group from it, and we set up a task force, because I just said it to Brendan there, is he okay with it? He said, yeah, he's not adverse to it. So let's make this happen, and let's make it a continual group that will look at this monthly or 2 monthly, and we will all pitch in where we can, or where we need. Is that good? Thank you.
I'm conscious, Lord Mayor, you'll be finished in your role as well. So it's good to get this kind of a little bit more concrete before that happens as well. There's a formal commitment.
Yeah.
So absolutely, I appreciate that.
Okay, we record that in the minutes, and the 5 local councillors, I'm sure, will keep an eye on this and keep on pushing it. Is that okay?
Sorry, Chair. Could we have a very brief report from some of our traffic officials here in relation?
Absolutely, yeah. That'd be important.
Very important, Chairman. Whichever one of you is going to do that. Neil?
Just to let you know, guys, thanks the D12 BikeBus. We met with them on Friday. We had a Zoom call, and we have engineers now involved looking at the process of trying to put in some temporary measures as soon as possible. Then we're going to look at with the medium term and then the long term. And we're going to keep, and we're delighted that they have contacted the councillors. Like, councillors will be able to help the D12 BikeBus very much and keeping this, trying to keep the objective going. And the main thing I would say, Dublin City Council supports the normalising of sustainable transport throughout the villages of the South Central area and the South East area. And we support the energy of the D12 BikeBus and to push us to get better ideas and schemes together. And we will work with all the councillors on this scheme, and we will keep you updated every 2 months.
I was going to raise this at the end, but just to let you know, myself and the manager have been talking about this problem caused when the area committee falls on the same day as the city council, that the time is just absolutely packed. So we're going to do a consultation in the next, over the next month or so about this, whether people want to keep us. Just time is crazy. Okay, Anne and Margaret, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. Yeah.
Take care.
Talk to you again. Bye bye.
Okay, we're moving on to the tag report, which has been circulated. I just raised one point myself, and I see Paddy McCarthy's hand going up. I just raised one point. When I was sort of congratulating myself on various things being about to happen, I know in the tag report, I noticed that in fact several of them have happened already. Now that does raise certain questions. One, is there a padding out of the tag report, but also the fact that if councillors don't agree with a recommendation, there's no opportunity for us to question that. So I rang up a woman the other night to congratulate her on being successful in getting something that she'd been looking for ages. And I said it's likely to be done in the next couple of months. And she said, Dermot, it was done a month ago. So, that has a problem. And the other issue I just want to raise is a very local one. I think it's the last one. It is the last one, item 21. The roundels in Beach Hill Drive. Now, first of all, I think the roundels are absolutely pointless. I have no idea of their value whatsoever in the housing estate. None. Okay, they're sort of, half of them are buried under cars that are parked. But the more important thing that was looked for in Beach Hill was that the ramps would be repaired. And that promise was given quite a long time ago. So I prefer if the money was spent on repairing the ramps and putting in roundels that have no value in my book. Okay, I see Paddy McCartan, then Mary Friel.
Thanks, Chair. On the issue of number 6, Guildford Road, which includes Park Avenue and St. John's Road, is this not a little premature, given that no decision has been made in terms of Strand Road? This looks as if the Strand Road proposal of Dublin City Council is a fait accompli, and I'm just wondering about making those permanent arrangements for the bus stops. The second one is in relation to Waterloo Lane. Yeah, Dermot mentioned the roundels. I'm not sure, is that the solution to the issue, but at least it's a step forward. Could you give me a timeline on that? That's number 10. And number 17, the electric vehicle parking bays on Chelmsford Road, Ranelagh. I welcome that, the 2 bays being added to what's on Belmont Avenue. And could you tell me, is that the extent of the electric vehicle bays in the whole of the electoral area, and what other ones are being proposed for the future? Thanks very much.
Thanks, Paddy. I think those roundels might be in Waterloo Lane. Mary Friel's next.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Well, the first thing I want to say is that the traffic department is distancing itself more and more from the elected representatives. And I don't know how we're going to we're getting the message across, but it's not being heard and it's not being dealt with. As a local area meeting, it is just next to impossible to try and get action from the traffic department. We asked for a special meeting. I don't see any sign of it. Because people are working from home, it is extremely difficult to access people these days. So it's very difficult to know where we are. And what's actually happening, and I think the city manager is going to have to begin to realise what he's created. The only way that I'm finding in some instances that I'm actually getting action and things when I go through him. Now, are we going to have to put all our queries through the city manager in order to get things done? The whole idea is that each department should be working with the elected representatives, and that's not happening at the moment. So I don't know what we're going to do, how we can actually change that. And I think Brendan is going to talk to us, isn't he, after this, Brendan O'Brien?
Yeah,
he's going to be available, is he?
In an hour and 20 minutes.
He is going to be available.
I don't know how we're going to get everything done in an hour and a half, but anyway, keep on going.
Okay, so just very quickly on the Mount Argus one, that is number 12. And this is coming back to the double yellow lines. I mean, somewhere arbitrarily, the traffic department decided among themselves that they wouldn't put double yellow lines anywhere. Double yellow lines are as much for safety as it is for anything else, and for people to be able to live. The fact is, it's not working. So on one hand, you say you agree with the request here, which means that you'll put double yellow lines at the beginning, but you won't put them on the narrow corners. And I mean, the price that in a lot of ways that we're paying for is that very often that the City Council allowed builders and planning applications not to have wide enough roads, and this is where the problem is. But it is very, very difficult for people in Mount Argus to be able to manage, and they have commuter parking coming in there. So it's all very fine saying get in touch with the clampers, but as we all know, and people have been in touch with me, the clampers are ignoring them. And I have had to go to the clampers myself. I've had to make a big deal of it before I could get the clampers working. So, we have to work with local communities. Sorry, I didn't mean to be so long-winded, but I am exercised about it. Thank you.
I'm sorry for being rude. Carolyn?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, just to navigate my way back here. It's a question actually that ties into your own point, Dermot, just about delivery and timelines, and the fact that some of these things, once we get the report, have already been actioned, and then others we don't have kind of a clear timeline on them. I'm just wondering about, is there anybody at the moment who can tell me, give me any information on the timeline for delivery of double yellow lines on Orwell Road? So I was informed this morning that there was actually a crash there yesterday at exactly the point that double yellow lines were requested and recommended in March. And apparently the residents have been told that it requires consultation with the Gardaí. So there was an actual crash there yesterday, and it seems that this is something that's quite urgently needs to be implemented. And what's the hold up there, and what's the timeline?
Carolyn, Deirdre Conroy.
Thank you, Dermot. Again, in relation to the double yellow lines and blocking of people being able to access their homes outside Bushy Park on Rathdown. It's been going on for nearly a year now, and we have people contacting us every day. So I want to know when that is going to be sorted immediately.
Thanks, Deirdre. Daniel Ketchum.
Thanks, Dermot. I just had one query. Maybe someone could come back to me on it about double yellow lines on the corner where Mount Argus View meets Mount Argus Close. I believe there was stuff previously, someone might be able to update me on where that went. Thanks.
Because I don't have everybody's hands and video, is there any other councillor who I haven't called wants to speak yet? Okay, just two very quick points. Belmont Avenue, I've seen a possible text of the questionnaire or survey that's going to go out. One of the by-election candidates circulated. If that questionnaire goes out in that language, first of all, nobody will understand it. And secondly, very few people will fill it in. They need to be much, much simpler and clearer in plain English. And also there's a third option, one way from the Stanford Road, which had achieved a fair amount of support, which is not included. But I was going to suggest we might have a Zoom meeting with the 5 Pembroke councillors on the questionnaire before it goes out, just so that there's clarity. And the second point is double yellow lines in front of entrances. This is a huge problem for people, because the council is putting double yellow lines along roads, then leaving gaps in front of gates. People are coming up and parking in front of the gates. And I'm told that the council has a policy. I often wonder who writes these policies. Not councillors. The council has a policy of not putting double yellow lines in front of gates. But you do put it in front of gates. But it seems to me you put it in front of gates when you want to, and suddenly there's a policy when you don't want to. And a lot of people are very annoyed about this. The latest round of people very annoyed about this are residents in Mornington Road and Ashfield, and Jerry McIntyre has got several emails from me in relation to it. It probably takes the trucks longer to stop painting the double yellow lines at all of these stretches, and if the truck just went the whole way down along the stretch. But it's causing a lot of anger and a lot of annoyance, the inconsistency of actions. Parade is a policy, but not a policy that we ever voted for, that the council has adopted. So there you go, a whole lot of questions. Neil or Jerry, whoever wants to take them. Neil, we can't hear you.
I'm going to let Jerry speak in advance on the different queries that councillors have.
Okay.
Jerry?
We can see you're talking, Jerry, but we can't hear you.
You're a dog barking.
Not Jess. Now we can see you talking, Neil, but not hear you.
Yeah, sorry guys. Sorry, Chairman. Mr.
Okay.
Just to let you know, look, I will look at all these queries with Jerry. Like all the issues of the double lines, we will look into for you. to make sure that we can get happier and better solutions for us all is the most important thing. With regard to Paddy McCartan's Guildford Road at Park Avenue and St. John's and Waterloo Lane, I know they were complaining about the roundels and stuff like that. But look, these are measures that we're trying to implement to see if there is actually a speed change by motorists and vehicles. We're trying to make things more visual, like the actual traffic cam. A lot of traffic cam measures are in place, such as parking and double-sided parking, things like that. We're trying not to put in ramps on roads where they're now down at 30k, because we want, like, the ramps were originally designed for 50k roads. So we're trying to put in measures that makes drivers more aware. That's the most important point. With regard to the EV charging, Councillor, it is Councillor McCartan. We will have to come back to you on that, because it's another section that looks after what charging points are put around the city. But I'd say the area office will come back to you with the answer there. To Councillor Freehill, like the question on the Mount Argus WL lines, I know Jerry McIntyre has been in communication with you on the WL lines, and look, he will review and see what, because he has visited the site on many occasions. But we don't put in, just to let you know, we don't put in WL lines within 5 meters of a corner, because putting WL lines on corners can lead to vehicles actually parking on the corners. So that's all. I just don't want to go further on that. But
not working.
To Councillor Carolyn Moore, we will look at that junction of Orwell Road with that incident, and we'll see if we can see any measure that can help the situation there. And to Councillor Deirdre Conroy on the Bushy Park, we've submitted a report to the senior management of Dublin City Council, and they're looking at it at this very moment. So as soon as we have the go ahead to deliver the report, we will let the councillors know. To Councillor Keating, the Mount Argus view as well, we will look at the WL lines on that. And with regard to Belmont Avenue, I know the engineers involved in it have looked at the questionnaire and are going to make it in clear, plain English, because it's important for all community to be able to read and observe and work out what the information is. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks. Neil, can I just suggest that you discuss the Belmont Avenue issue further with the local councillors on the options? And while I understand what you're saying about the ramps in 30 and 50k areas, where a ramp is in a 30k PH area, a ramp that is decaying is a danger. So just they need to be upgraded or removed. And upgrading is probably cheaper.
All ramps will be, like all ramps that are currently in place should be upgraded, like to proper quality.
Okay, thanks very much.
Sorry, Chair, just
go ahead.
Get back to that point on Guildford Road and Park Avenue. If the decision of the court is that not to go ahead with the Strand Road project, what's the point then prematurely putting in these bus changes on Park Avenue, etc.? You know, I mean, it seems to me to be premature, at least until we find out the view of the High Court, which will deliver its findings at the end of the month.
Dublin City Council will always wait for the point of view of the judiciary, and will wait for their comment on the. Oh,
so it's not imminent then.
From my knowledge, I wasn't involved in it, so I have to just wait till the proper measures are going to be in place. Like, we have to wait and see.
Sorry, Dermot, could I just also point out, just to say to Neil, we're not looking for an assessment of a suitable solution. Double yellow lines have been requested and recommended by the TAG engineers. It's just a matter of how quickly they can happen.
It just has to go through this normal statutory process, like as in, it has to go to the guards. It takes about a month to get the measure in, where they sign off on it, and then as soon as we've got the agreement from the Gardaí, we can go ahead and implement straight away.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, it may interest some councillors to know that in the 2014 Local Government Act, the power to locate bus stops was specifically included as a reserved function for councillors. And before the bill became an act, the then Minister for Local Government removed that power. So we nearly had the power to make that decision, Paddy, and it was removed from us.
It was your minister, Mr. Alan Kelly.
No, it was Minister Hogan, Paddy, who did it, sadly.
Why didn't Mr. Kelly change it back?
Well, because he didn't change any Local Government Act because he wasn't there long enough. But let's move on to Brendan O'Brien. Brendan?
What's so funny about that?
Sorry, just
so let's move on. Let's move on, Brendan.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks for the invitation to talk about some of the, I suppose, traffic projects within the southeast area. So I just have a presentation which kind of just covers some of these. So I'll just share it with yourselves, and then I should be happy to take any questions after that.
I'm going to try and do this in total in about 10-15 minutes, Brendan, including
That's fine. Well,
Thanks.
okay. Okay, it might be a little harder. There's actually quite a lot of projects which are coming up in the southeast area, and I've kind of looked at, I'm trying to, look at some of the strategic projects which will impact in the area, and kind of some of the ones that we're doing. So I suppose the first one that's been our most significant at the moment really is around COVID and city recovery, really about the southeast area, trying to provide space for businesses. So we've a large number of build outs which have been completed in places like St. Anne Street and Dame Court. We've started the Grafton Street area pedestrianisation of a number of streets, or parts of a number of streets, and that commenced on the 24th of May. So, and that's a permanent measure. So this is Dame Court, as I say, quite transformed from what it was previously, with parking either side, to now space for the restaurants either side. There is a requirement from the Dublin Fire Brigade for us to leave 3.5 metre access lane at all times. So that's why you'll see with our interventions, there's always a clear lane left there for emergency vehicles. Where we can't do those build outs, because the build outs are the nature kind of semi-permanent, we say about 2 years of an intervention. We have been piloting the use of these zebras, which are delineators, but which can be planted so they can actually give quite a nice field. So they're in around 20 locations now. This is Sandymount, Locks Restaurant, and so on. So that's another item that we've been engaged with. Marion Row, following the request from the businesses there and a consultation, the changes there came into place, which really was to take some of the traffic out of Marion Row, reverse Hume Street in Eli Place. So Hume Street layout is completely changed now with a contraflow cycle track in it. And the net result of that is it allowed us to do build outs either side of the road. We still allowed vehicles from from Grafton or Kildare Street, and particularly the bus service to still be maintained along here, but it allowed us to actually do build outs both sides of the road. So this is on the side, this is on the O'Donoghue side, this is on the other side at Hugo's restaurant. And I suppose the reason that we do these build outs is to provide the space, but also, as you can see, is to leave the footpath clear. So there's a clear area on the footpath for people to still access the area. The other thing about using these is obviously there's no level difference, so they're completely accessible for anybody with mobility impairments or vision impairments. over the weekend, then we had the Parliament Street traffic-free trial, which really was Parliament Street and Essex Street. This was in conjunction with the Capel Street trial as well. So because Capel Street was closed off and the majority of traffic coming into Parliament Street is coming across Grattan Bridge, it was felt that Parliament Street could also be trialled as well. And this was quite successful. This was Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. It'll be like this for the next 6 weekends, or sorry, the next 5 weekends, 6 weekends in total, and was quite successful in terms of the amount of businesses that came out and restarted, made use of the space. And next weekend there's actually even going to be more in Parliament Street and in Essex Street. So it was quite successful from that point of view. Some of the cycling projects just along Seanmore Road. There's a two-way segregated cycling option to be put in. There's a lot of space on Seanmore Road, but it's quite a hostile environment. So that'll go in as a semi-permanent measure over the next while. We're just trying to arrange that in conjunction with our road design colleagues at the moment. School zones then, as you know, developed in partnership with the NTA and really about trying to make a better environment at the school gate, kind of ties in with some of the comments about the safer routes to school. So these are really to try and prevent parking or blocking the visibility, make it easier for people to use and make it easier for people to walk, and to really just kind of make the schools far more visible. So we've quite a number of these completed in the southeast area, and particularly the Armagh Road one, which is the most extensive one that has been done. This is the type of installation where they're putting down the actual coloured markers, again, just to kind of catch people's attention and make them clear that there's something different here. And the idea is that we use the same style at each location, so it becomes a theme, a kind of brand, rather than changing them. These are some of the ones that are at design development. So these have been assessed by the neighbourhood engineer and schools outreach officers. So we've been fortunate in putting together a number of school outreach officers, you know, who are staff that came to us from other sections, and they've really been instrumental in reaching out to all the principals and trying to get agreement for what goes in. These are the ones that are next for assessment. And I suppose just to give you an idea, this is what's been done complete over the whole of the city since August 2020. And I suppose one of the, these are the ones that are progressing in the southeast area. So we've got some 30 kilometers per hour, we've got some 50 kilometers per hour. And at the moment, the same design that we use for the 30 isn't suitable for the 50. So that's something that has to be really worked at to try and come up with a better solution, which is more suitable for those areas. Cycle parking, so we've done 32 schools and sports club in southeast areas since August 2020, so quite a considerable amount put in. And again, it's I suppose the development of these school zone action plans. We have a walking and cycling action plan in preparation. So and the whole issue of safe routes to school, and you know, trying to make sure that people's routes to school are safe, that they are locations where people can cycle, people can walk safely, is a key element. So that's something that we're quite focused on. As you know, Bus Connects is one of the big projects which will affect this area as well, and you know, it's a citywide project, so we have set up a small team to deal directly with Bus Connects and public transportation projects in general. But this particular one, it comprises quite a wide range of different interventions. So you have the corridors, you have the network redesign, you have the new bus stops, new buses, and so on. I suppose in the southeast area, here's the various different corridors. the target is to increase the passenger capacity on the bus fleet by 50%, and bear in mind that the bus fleet is the chief carrier of people into the city and is the chief workhorse of public transport. So this is a really important project in terms of actually ensuring that the capacity is there to move people into the city and around the city, and also I suppose it's really important in the fact that there's a huge amount of cycling infrastructure being proposed as part of this project as well. So where we are at the moment is that the NTA are in pre-application discussions with On Board Penola. So out of that then will come when the actual applications can be lodged. And I suppose just to reiterate, the NTA have used their powers to exercise some of our powers under the Roads Act. So they're the ones that are applying for the corridors, undertaking the CPOs and building the corridors, which will then in turn be handed back to Dublin City Council. So that is in progress at the moment. The Bus Connect's network redesign is sorry, the Bus Connect's network redesign is a key one at the moment as well. So we can see here the when some of the services will start to change. So this gives you a timetable really over the next 2 to 3 years of when those spines and the numberings will change and when the routings will change. So so that gives you some idea there. Metrolink then. Metrolink project timeline, the preliminary design is nearing completion, and the preliminary business case has been submitted. They're hoping to go for a railway order application about Q4 2021, which means really the main works is sometime around Q3 2023. And bear in mind this provides this high capacity link. So in the area, there's a couple of the big stations are here, the Tara Street station. So we're looking here about the integration with the Irish Rail at Tara Street. So Tara Street here and the whole metro development here. And we can see it a bit better here where you've got the arches currently going into the Irish Rail station. So it is an integration around you know, the interlink between the Metrolink and DART at this particular location, and then, you know, Bus Connects either side, and the cycle network as well along the Campshires. So hugely important project in terms of linking into the city centre and providing that mass transit that we so badly need at the moment. Stephen's Green, some of you may be familiar with this, the Stephen's Green, the proposal at the moment, and these are the indicative of the design work that's going on at the moment, is here. It's at the Shelbourne corner, and with the metro station here at this location. And again, then you have Charlemont, which is the metro station here is combined with the development there, but it's the interchange then with the Charlemont Lewis stop along with the pedestrian connection across the Grand Canal. So this obviously at the moment is the end point of the metro, and I know there's discussions about whether it should go forward or whatever, but I suppose one of the key things with this project is bear in mind that we first started talking about a Metrolink project you know, back almost 10 years ago and more. We should have had a Metrolink project to the airport opening in 2016. So at the moment we're not looking at a metro opening really till I suppose 2029. So we've really lost a whole decade with the financial crash. We lost a whole decade of transportation investment. So the hope is that we can manage to get this really much needed underground system started. And I suppose our concept really is that this hopefully is the first metro. It's not the only metro, and a bit like we started off with the Lewis lines and then a load of extensions and different spurs and so on, that the metro will grow. Another one that will increase capacity, and all these are about increasing capacity. So we'll have Bus Connects increasing the public transport, the bus passenger numbers by 50%. We have this huge increase coming in through the metro, and then we have the DART plus coastal, which is divided up into Dart plus coastal northern line and southeast line. And I suppose, again, the concept here is to increase the capacity of the existing Dart line in this area. And one of the key elements here, which will be the most, I suppose, contentious and most difficult, is the fact that the level crossings along this route will have to close in order to reach the frequency required. So it's a real tricky project. Where we are with it is that we're only just at the start of this project, or we're only just been starting to be briefed by Irish Rail on this project. So we have some meetings organised over the next while. So we haven't seen any details as yet. But obviously this will provide quite increased capacity on this line. But in order to provide increased capacity, it means increased frequency, and with the level crossings, that means that they stay closed longer and longer until they become, if you like, almost like a permanent closure. So that has to be factored in. One of the things, again, going back to the Metrolink, is that there is that interchange with Metrolink at Tara Street. So if you think about Metrolink, where you're interchanging with Metrolink at Tara Street, you're interchanging with the Irish Rail up at Glasnevin. Basically what it means is that all of the Irish Rail network can actually interlink and interchange with Metro, which means in actual fact that anybody who's on the Irish Rail network can actually get to the airport by rail. So it's it'll be a huge benefit and a huge game changer in terms of mobility. Some of the cycle network proposals. So what we're looking at the moment, so I suppose we need to divide it up into some of the quick interventions we're doing under COVID mobility, and the fact that we still have our cycle projects, which are the longer term projects. So there's a walking and cycling projects really for the next 5 years. They're seen as being a complementary program to the infrastructure that's been delivered by the cycling infrastructure that's going to be delivered by Bus Connects. And some of the projects will be relatively light interventions. Some of them will be more of the kind of Clontarf, the city centre interventions. But the concept is to really start to grow the actual Greater Dublin area cycle network. So up to 2025, these are some of the locations for projects within the southeast area, and we'll go through these as we get more, as we do more work on them, and give you more details on what each comprises of. But you can see the difference. So we're talking about 39 kilometers here. And then when we actually include in the Bus Connects, it adds up to 62 kilometers. So you can see once we add in the Bus Connects corridors, the actual cycle provision, our projects are kind of off the Bus Connects corridors and complementary to them. So they start to build the network together. So on the main roads in general, it'll be the Bus Connects project that'll be providing the cycle infrastructure, but then we'll be providing the links across from those big corridors to ensure that there's good permeability across the cycle network. And we have interventions proposed really on all the major corridors and all the major routes and so on. And it's quite ambitious, really. It really requires us from 22 to 25 to be doing somewhere in the order of 10 kilometers per year of cycle routes, which is way in excess of what we're doing at the moment. So that requires the whole cycle network design team to be built up, and also it's quite a challenging project. So as we go through these projects, as I say, we'll be coming back to you with more and more information about those. So we have the Dodder Greenway, which is major work statutory public consultation, and we're hoping to be able to lodge for the Part 8 probably in the next 8 to 9 months in that. Clonskeagh to City Centre, we hope to be going out towards the end of this year on this particular one. It's a non-statutory consultation because there's nothing in it that triggers a Part 8. It's all within the curvature of the road. Some of the items with this particular one as well that we'll try and bring forward is the pedestrian crossing at Chelmsford and Ranelagh. That'll be brought forward as part of a separate project. South Grand Canal. So there is a Grand Canal project which looked at taking the canalway all the way out to the existing South Dublin canalway, and that stalled at the time because of there wasn't the finance for it, and it's quite a complex one. So in the meantime, what's being proposed is to have some an interim version which will do some minor works on the car protection along the route, but also will allow us to do places like Sally's Bridge and so on to provide the pedestrian crossings. And again, that's just in preparation at the moment. These are the kind of corridor listing for the southeast area. You know, up to 2025. A lot of these are just at the moment just in feasibility or very preliminary looking at. A lot of them are new and we haven't started to work on them yet. But as over the next 6 months, as project teams are set up, these projects will be assessed further. So we have a comprehensive program for delivery, and as we do that, then we'll be coming back to you with more details. However, it must be said at the moment, our staff numbers are actually down slightly as some staff have left, and our new staff that we're expecting, and we're expecting quite an increase in our complement, have not yet been appointed. So we're trying to move this along, but we haven't done as much work as we would have liked on all these particular projects. So for the time being, you know, it's not possible for us to give you a huge amount of detail, but hopefully over the next number of months, we will be able to do that. Just in terms of
Brendan, we're rapidly running out of time.
Okay,
I don't even think there's going to be time for questions. I see loads of hands up.
All right.
People want the agenda concluded that was submitted. We're just not going to have time.
We need a special meeting for this kind of stuff, Dermot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to take on board here.
I agree with you, Maddox. So
we certainly do need a special meeting. Okay. This is not acceptable.
I was going to actually suggest that. So, Brendan,
yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry. Not possible.
Yeah. Brendan, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to finish really on these points. There is a new citizen hub. Some of you may have heard about it, which has been delivered by the transformation unit, and that will change the way the service requests, both from the public and from councillors, have been handled and dealt with through tags. So it'll kind of speed up this. You know, this is basically what's live at the moment, but the actual new system, which I think they're hoping to have live in August, September, will make it a lot, first of all, a lot easier for the public, and secondly, there will be a separate route through for councillors to make requests. So that'll change, I think, quite a bit of how this is handled at the moment. So that'll be a far more GIS based system. I'll leave it at that, Dermot. Sorry, I was trying to...
No, I appreciate it, and it's not your fault, Brendan, either. Can I suggest two things? One, that this be circulated, the report, and we don't get into a conversation now, and that we try and arrange an hour-long special meeting just on this traffic document.
Agreed.
Otherwise, all your motions don't get dealt with.
Also, we have a public transport subcommittee.
Please, Mary, Deirdre, please.
Can I just say thank you to Brendan and the team. The city was great over the weekend, so thank you for everything.
Okay, Deirdre.
Merely, yes, Dermot, thank you. I was merely saying that I'm chair of the public transport subcommittee, which is coming up on Thursday, and we're having somebody, you know, there's the PR person from the NTA, so perhaps this could be shared with all of us at that time.
Okay, but this is area specific stuff that I think people will have a lot of questions on.
Absolutely, Dermot, yeah, because that's what
indeed.
We've got commitments. Indeed. I think it needs to be special.
Okay,
so
can everybody be short? Tara, I agree. Claire, and then we're going to try and move on to traffic motions.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think this is very time sensitive. As Brendan has said, some of those projects are 5 or 6 weeks in length. I'd like, if we are going to have a special meeting, it has to be imminent. And when are we going to have that bigger conversation about our vision for the city, some of these wonderful changes, how we're going to support them moving forward? But we also have smaller questions, like, for example, I'd like to know where the toilets are going to go around the pedestrian of Sandymount.
Absolutely.
So when are, you know, Brendan has given an enormous amount of time, an enormous amount of preparation, a brilliant presentation. we're all buoyant with questions, with comments.
Yeah.
So in having
you
it
made the
today,
person.
how
Sure,
can we
you-
have a presentation without a conversation?
Yeah.
So are we just to park
No.
everything and
No, two things, Claire. One, I wasn't aware the presentation was going to be so big. I was informed that it was in response to a particular motion, but maybe that was a miscommunication. I did suggest that we would hold this meeting the next couple of weeks. It's not a never-ending stuff.
Oh,
There's so much information on this that people need time to digest it and then to pose their questions. And I will talk to Brian either after this meeting or tomorrow morning about organising a meeting as near as possible to now, like, you know, within the next, say, 10 days or so.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean in any way to be negative towards you, Chair. I mean, you're next to Chair. I think it's unusual that we're based next to the city as a constituency, so all of this main stuff comes our way.
Don't worry, I don't take anything personal.
Chair, yeah, Dermot, can I just make a point?
Hold on, there's two people talking there and I don't know who they are.
Sorry,
Tara
Dermot,
was one I heard.
Yeah, I just want to make a very brief suggestion. Next week, we are absolutely chock-a-block with meetings next week, like every single evening. So could we refrain from maybe having it next week and maybe look at the following week, or else towards the end of this week, perhaps on a Friday, but just next week is just
I
for
thought
everybody.
we have the afternoons off next week that we didn't think we were going to have off. But look, let me
I know,
talk.
people are working as well.
I understand that. Let me talk to Brian and we'll try and do something. Deirdre.
Chair,
sorry.
Yes,
Sorry.
please. That what I meant about the one on Thursday was if we could have it added on for our local councillors as well as soon as possible, because so much was brought up and there's so many people who have all of the community issues, including the Metro Underground not going to Parliament. So much stuff that we have to discuss.
Let me talk to Brian tomorrow morning or after this, and I'll come back to people really quickly. Claire Byrne.
I was just going to make a suggestion that given that if you could circulate, and thank you, Brendan, for the great presentation. If you could circulate it, perhaps we could submit questions in advance in writing, and that might speed up the meeting after, whenever we do have it.
Hear, hear.
Okay, the one night next week we don't have a development plan meeting is Monday night. I mean, what about, say, 4 o'clock-ish on the Monday?
Yep.
Yeah,
people are here. Brendan, is that possible for you?
Next month, so you're talking about the 21st of June?
Well, I'm just noting that there's development plan meetings on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and probably the Friday. There isn't on the Monday.
I don't know about anybody else, but like I booked afternoons off work, taking annual leave to accommodate.
Okay, look, I'll talk. Okay.
So I don't have time on Monday.
If we could have reached an agreement now, I would have done so. I'll talk to Brian. We'll try and get some agreement. Okay, I'm going to move to the traffic motions, and I'll talk to Brendan because Brendan can't be there. Brendan, thank you very much. It really was a good presentation. Huge amount of stuff in it, and I don't think it should just get lost, and we wouldn't have that discussion properly today.
Chair, I mean, you've let some people speak and you haven't let others.
Mary, I'm only talking about purely the meetings. Like, if we get into the...
No, but I mean, in relation to Brendan's presentation,
yeah,
you know, there are terribly serious issues that we have to take on as a committee. I mean, this suggestion of citizens hubs and so forth, the manager has to know that we're not going to be sending in emails. We develop a working relationship with the officials,
Mary,
and that's why gotten across.
Yeah, Mary, that's why I am proposing, and other people are proposing, that we would have a special meeting, because we just we couldn't get through all of this. Like, there's so much good stuff in this as well.
Okay.
And Dermot, just very briefly, the report will be sent on.
Yeah, we did ask for that, the report to be circulated. There's good stuff in it. Okay, motion number 3, Mary Friel, Harold's Cross Park.